Hey, great to have you here. So today I'll be reviewing the movie Event Horizon. Shout out to friend of the channel, Cope and Madness, who requested this one. And FYI, I'll be discussing some spoilers in this review. So Event Horizon takes place in the year 2047, which really isn't that far away from now. And the plot follows the crew of this rescue ship called the Lewis and Clark. Separately, 7 years earlier, this ship named the Event Horizon disappeared around Neptune. And we have Dr. William Weir, played by Sam Neill, who joins this crew, and their captain, Captain Miller, played by Lawrence Fishburne. Weir tells the crew that the Event Horizon has in fact been found. The crew all doubt him at first, and we have Sam Neill do the demonstration from things like Interstellar, where he puts the pencil through the folded piece of paper to explain things like lightspeed travel. And right away from this opening, I'm thinking Sam Neill is a bad guy. He just shows up and is like, hey guys, let's go out to this ship that only I really know about, it'll be fine. But he's also seeing these traumatic visions of his wife, and sure enough, they do find the Event Horizon, and from there, things start going incredibly wrong for the crew after they board it. I won't go into a ton of detail here, but the Event Horizon had traveled to another dimension, and the reason they couldn't locate the ship previously is that it essentially had been in hell this whole time. And the ship is using the crew's fear and guilt to drive them insane as they see these disturbing visions and are experiencing all kinds of psychological torment. And sure enough, it does turn out that Weir was influenced by the ship's dark presence to bring the others here to die.
Can't see us if we don't move.
Now looking at some pros and cons for this movie, starting off with the pros. My first pro is that the idea of a demonic ship being the bad guy was a fun twist that I wasn't expecting. At first, this movie seems to have a typical sci-fi, maybe alien plotline, until we learn that the Event Horizon traveled to some demonic realm and turned Sam Neill into a sabotaging psychopath. The second pro that I'll give is that most of the characters, outside of maybe one, make pretty rational decisions. They're being possessed by this entity, but they aren't doing the typical horror trope thing where they just run into danger for no reason. And then the last positive that I'll point out is that I like the uneasy tone of this film. As these crew members start to uncover more and more information, you see things continue to spiral downward for them. For example, you have one of the crew members early on who tries to decipher this distress signal, and at first, he thinks it's asking for help, but later on, he realizes the message actually said, save yourself. And now looking at some of the cons that I had for the film, the first one that I'll point out was the dated CGI, which is more so just a knock on the visuals for that time period. The movie works much better when we're inside experiencing the dread, as opposed to out in space where we see the ships moving around. The second con that I'll point out is one of the main sequences in Act 3. This demonic William Weir character has the two remaining crew members dead to rights, and then we suddenly get the coach from Full Court Miracle who has miraculously returned to the Event Horizon after being blown away by this bomb on their ship. But he's on the outside of the Event Horizon and is absolutely no threat to anybody. But we have Weir here, for some reason, shoot his harpoon gun at the window and bust it open. Like, what was the plan there? Why did he shoot the guy outside of the ship? Maybe he was just trying to kill everybody? But then even after that, you have the two crew members that are in that room who are struggling to hold on as everything around them is getting sucked out of the ship, and they eventually crawl to the next room and shut the door. But how were they breathing this whole time? Or how were they not crushed to death? It felt like some weird plot armor moments there. And then the last con that I'll point out, this isn't a major one, but when we have Fishburne and Neill who are fighting each other, we have the cheesiest punch sounding effects happening. It's like whoosh. So that took me a little bit out of it. Now looking at some subscores before jumping into the final rating. Starting off with the plot, here I'll go with a 4 out of 5. As I mentioned, I really thought the concept of a spaceship traveling to hell and back was a creative idea to pursue. For an entertainment score, I'll say 3 out of 5 here. There are some lulls like we have with any kind of space movie, and I mentioned Sam Neill being evil seemed pretty predictable to me, but the premise does keep you on your toes as you learn more about what happened with this spaceship and the trauma from Weir's backstory of neglecting his wife for his work. There were also some fun lines of dialogue in the movie that did seem like fun references to other IPs, like we get the line, such great sights to see, which felt like an homage to Hellraiser, with Pinhead's such sights to show you.
Such sights to show you.
Or another one is when Sam Neill goes, where we're going, we don't need eyes to see, which felt like a nod to Back to the Future's, where we're going, we don't need roads.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
For a gore score, I'll say 3 out of 5. There are some moments with like pools of blood, carved out eyes, and other violent scenes, but it's not anything unwatchable. Do keep in mind that there is some self-harm referenced here though. For a scare score, I'll also go 3 out of 5 here. We get some solid jump scares, especially when the crew are having these horrific visions, but similar to gore, It's not the scariest movie, nor do I think it's overly meant to be, I guess outside of the idea of hell being a scary place. And then for a rewatchability score, this will probably be the lowest for me at a 2 out of 5. After you know what happens with the Event Horizon and Weir, some of the intrigue is taken away. It does strike me as a movie that you would rewatch when you want to show somebody who hasn't seen it yet, kind of like I used to do with movies like Saw or The Descent. But just on my own, I don't expect to watch it again in the near future. So now for an overall rating here, my score for Event Horizon is going to be a 6 out of 10. And on my scale, this is an above average movie that nicely mixes sci-fi with horror. Granted, it's almost done in 2 separate movies. The way things shift genre-wise between the first and second halves of the movie. I really enjoyed the premise here, but the execution and seemingly lower budget special effects prevent it from being an all-time great for me. But those are my thoughts. If you've seen this movie, what'd you think? Sound off on all things Event Horizon down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to talk to you again soon.